Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Emily. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 15 of my favorite Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs of the season. I hope that you'll enjoy this and get lots of ideas for some last minute maybe gift ideas as well as just DIYs to decorate your home. So I hope you enjoy this video and let's go ahead and get started. DIY is probably my favorite. You'll need a stove cover for this. Dollar Tree carries them in a 2-pack, a larger and a smaller one. So the first step is to take whatever fabric you want as your background, or you could paint a background on. Get a piece of wood, add your Mod Podge if you're using fabric, and then you're going to lay that fabric on and then press it all on until it's completely flat. I will say this burlap, Walmart carries it at a really good price. But it doesn't lay as flat as like regular material. You have to kind of hold on to it. So I ended up adding a little bit of hot glue around the edges just to hold it on there. And now I'm using those Jenga blocks again and I'm adding them together, just gluing each piece together. And I did 5 across this one, or actually 6, sorry. And then I made sure it fit the size of my sign, and then I'm going to do a second layer of blocks, gluing each of them together and then gluing them down. Make sure when you're doing this it lays flat, because this is what's going to hold up your sign, just like it did for the music sign that we made. You can make this however thick or small you want. Once that was dry, I took some black paint and just covered the top sides of it. I just wanted it to kind of look like it was burnt and blend in a little bit. I didn't want to do the stained look for this. Again, do what works for you. The next step is to take that stove cover and paint the inside of it. Again, I'm just using black paint by Waverly, and you can use whatever you want. You could spray paint this if you wanted to and get a really clean finish. I actually like the little bit of texturing through the through brushing it on, so it just depends on for you. I'm taking a small strip of wood. It's about 2 inches in height, and then the length is, I think it's 8 inches. I painted that white. Now I'm taking these ornaments, the reindeer, and again I'm splitting them in half because I only want one side of it, and I'm taking these other ornament trees and then I'm going to glue them onto the wood stove cover. Now I had to use a lot of hot glue for this, so I would suggest using E6000 if you want this to stay permanently with the hot glue, and then press something heavy on it. The next step was I actually printed out the word Merry Christmas. I put the pencil on the back side of it so that way I could trace it onto my sign, and then I'm just using a paint pen in black and then going over my lines. Dollar Tree started carrying the paint pens. I found silver and gold. I haven't found black yet, but they might have it, so keep your eyes out on that. It was on the end cap when I went. Then I took a couple of those snowflake stars. I've been using these like crazy for projects lately, and put those all around so it's kind of like under the moonlight, I guess you could say. I took some of that fern greenery that Dollar Tree carries along with some red berries and just clipped off a few, and then I'm just layering those on. You can use whatever you would like for this, but I'm loving the way this looks. I think it's so pretty. I'm adding tons of glue to the trim, and then I'm going to glue on my wood sign that says Merry Christmas to it. And I think it's really cute on its own. I took a little bit of the green like tying sprigs that Dollar Tree carries and cut it into 4s, and then just added that behind it for a little pop of color because I felt like it needed a little bit more, and I really liked the way this came together. Then I just added a little bit more berries to it, and then the next step was to take hot glue and then glue the sign down onto it that we made earlier. And again, you could, if you're using, wood, you could staple this together for even better, hold. And then I added hot glue to the back and then glued on my sign. Then I felt like it needed a little bit pop of color still, so I took that green tying sprig and then just added hot glue to the top, and then pushed that on, and then just clipped off any excess with my wire cutters. And then I'm loving this ribbon again from Walmart. Dollar Tree does carry quite a bit. I ended up putting one bow in the middle. You can do what works for you for this. Going to want these 2 signs from Dollar Tree. I just took the Santa one and flipped it over and then tried to remove the tag. The snowman sign, I just ripped off the fabric that was on top. I've had this sign for 2 years from Dollar Tree. I think they still carry it. I know they have a few different versions of it now, so just be on the lookout for something similar. I also took off the wood sign that was on the top. I took off his nose and then took the scarf off and the berries. The fabric, you'll just want to toss it. Then I took some of my Waverly white paint and just brushed where I was going to put his face. So you don't have to do the top or the very bottom of it, because we're going to dress that up later on. And then I did the same thing, just repeated it to the back of the Santa sign. If you want to use the front of the Santa sign, you totally can. I would just suggest sanding down the glitter that's on top, and you might need 2 coats of paint for the top because it is red. Now, I was just dry brushing this on, and then I realized I wanted it to be solid for the top part, so just do what works for you. The bottom can be more vintage looking if you want it to be. Then I took the nose of the snowman and I painted this black. You can leave it orange if you want to, but I'm going for a very farmhouse look for this. And then I took the top of his hat and I just flipped that over and painted the back of it black. You can leave it as let it snow if you want to. Again, it's completely up to you. The next step was to take your fabric of choice. This came from Joann's many moons ago, but they might still have something similar. You can get it from Walmart, wherever. I just took the scarf and traced around it with a pencil, and then just cut that out with my scissors. And you can use fabric, you can use paper for this. It's completely up to you. I took some glue and then mushed that around onto the sign, spreading that out. And then I'm going to take my piece of fabric, or if you're using paper for this, like scrap paper, you can put that on there as well. Again, use what you have. Be creative in your own way. Figure out what you want to use and your sign to look like. The next step, I took a ruler for this and I used my paint pen and just traced a straight line across. And we're basically giving this sign a shiplap look. And you can do this however thick or skinny you want. It's completely up to you. The ruler works really well for this, and it's my painting one, so I don't care if I get paint on it. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. It wipes off fairly easy. So you're just going to do that to the top part of the sign, and then you're going to do it to the face of the snowman as well. Now the sign that said let it snow, I remember I painted the back of it black. Now I'm just going to freehand this house on it. You can write whatever you want. You can also use stick-on letters and then just Mod Podge them on or glue them on. It's completely up to you, but I decided just to freehand it and it works fairly well. Do what works for you. Once that allowed that to dry and I actually put fabric on the top of his hat, I glued that piece onto it. Then I took his nose and glued that on next. And then I took the scarf piece and added the glue onto the face and then just added that right on. And then I'm going to flip this over and we are going to work on the bottom part. Now the metal words that Dollar Tree has did not fit the way I wanted it to, so I took this fall sign that I had left over and put that on top just to extend it, so that way my sign I could put the metal word on and then put an S at the very end of it. That way it says, "In this house believes." But again, you don't have to do this. You could freehand whatever you want on that. I could have done that, but I was determined to use this metal word. I used it from another project as well. But now I'm going to glue the head onto the body, and I'm adding glue just at the very base of it and sticking that on. And then I'm using these popsicle sticks just to add added support to the back of the sign, just so it holds together really well. And then I decided to put on some eyeballs. You don't have to. I was going to leave these out, but last time I left eyeballs off of my snowman, people said he's missing a mouth and an eyeball, so I added them for you guys. I think it looks good though. And then I took these snowflakes that Dollar Tree has. They're wooden cutouts. They usually come in a 5 or 6 pack, I think. And I went ahead and glued that on. And I put 2 of those on. And then I just took some of my white berries and put those on near his hat and glued them on the back. And then the berries that originally came on the snowman, I added those back on there as well. And this is how he turned out. I need a glue gun, metal word, paint color of your choice, and then the wood ornament shape, and then paintbrushes. So for this ornament, I decided to use white as the base color. So I'm using Waverly chalk paint here just because it's thicker and it gives a nice good coating. You can do 2 coats if you want to, but 1 is fine. Then I'm going in with this red color here, and this is where you can use whatever color you would like. I love the way the red stands out on this, and I ended up putting like a little small angled stripe about every inch to ½ inch or so, and then just kind of space those out, and then I tried to line up the top lines with the bottom ones the best I could. Now you could use paper for this if you don't want to do this, but I think this is perfect. You don't need any tape. Doesn't have to be exact or anything. It was pretty easy for me to freehand. And I feel like you guys will be able to do this too. Now I'm just taking this stripe and lining up everything, and then I will go back in and connect all of the little stripes, and then I'm kind of curving that stripe over just so I know I get my lines straight on the other side as well. And again, you can use whatever colors you would like. Now I'm going to take a little bit of Mod Podge and some red glitter, and this is optional. I wanted it to sparkle a little bit more like an ornament would, so I just highlighted every other red line on here with the Mod Podge and the glitter. You can do every one if you want to. It's completely up to you. Then I decided I thought it would be pretty if I added another stripe of red in here just to kind of add a little bit more of a highlight, I don't know, to give it a little bit more dimension to the ornament. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but basically I outline the entire thing and then I go over that strip, a line of Mod Podge, and then you can just use your paintbrush to add the glitter, or you can do it old school and just dump the glitter on there, making sure the rest of your paint is dry obviously first, and then just dump it off. The next step is to take your metal word and glue that down. You can use hot glue, E6000 is your choice. You can even paint it gold if you wanted to. The next step I actually thought would be really pretty. I know I didn't show you florals in the beginning, but just take a little bit of this green foliage that's frosted, add a little berry to the top, and then I frosted the berries with a little bit of glitter as well. And I love the way this ornament came out. It is so pretty. But the next DIY, you'll want scissors, Mod Podge, a paintbrush, a glue gun, ribbon, a gift bag, and some wood. Now, gift bags are a great way to make a holiday sign. I've done this before. It's so easy and it's really inexpensive to do. I cut off where the holes were, and then I added the Mod Podge on the board where the gift bag would lay. You can do this with any type of thing. You can do this with scrap paper if you want. You guys have seen that my DIYs, you know I do this a lot. But I'm just kind of centering it on, then pressing it down. And then if the edges roll up on you, don't worry about that. Just wait for the glue to kind of dry a little bit, and then it will adhere just fine. And you'll want to cover that up on the edges with the Mod Podge. Then I took some ribbon and just cut that out to length. That way it would kind of frame the sign. I really wanted the natural wood color to kind of show here. It is an MDF board. It's not like a pine board, which I'd prefer, but I didn't have any on hand, so I just used this. I'm taking my glue and just adding that, and just adding the ribbon as a trim, and I think it just dressed up the sign a lot, and I think it's really pretty looking. You can do whatever you want. You can put actual wood trim on this if you wanted to, or you could sand it off and make it look rustic. Now the first step to this is to cut out your fabric. This fabric came from Joann's, really inexpensive, probably $1 for a foot of it. And then I'm going to cover up this is actually cardboard, really thick cardboard, but you can use a wood sign from Dollar Tree. Use what you have on hand. I painted it as much white as I could. I didn't care that it was kind of peeking through a little bit. Totally fine. I just didn't want that to come through the fabric. The next step is to take some black paint. This is the Waverly ink color, and I'm just covering up the Let It Snow sign. I'm leaving the snowflake white for this, but you can choose whatever color you want. You could do blue, you do to your heart's content. Now I'm going to take some Mod Podge and then apply that to the top of the snowflake. That way I can attach some glitter to this. It's completely optional if you want glitter. I just thought it would stand out a little bit more if I used some silver. So that is what I'm going to dump on this area, and then you can just tap off the excess. Alright, now for the fun part, we're going to work on the snowman. And I'm just taking my scraper tool, or you could use a paintbrush like I am, and I'm just peeling off the nose and the scarf, and then I just broke off the tip of his hat. You could be a little bit more organized and just cut it off if you want to, but I ended up going in with some wire cutters and just trimming that off. And then I took my sandpaper and just sanded down his body a little bit so there would be no rough edges so I could paint it. I added a little bit of glue to the top of the tip of his hat, and then glue that to the back of his face. And then I'm reattaching the scarf, but as you can see with the other one, it's in the opposite direction. So just flip his nose around the other way and you're good to go. I wanted my snowman to face the same way. You can do whatever you like. I'm now taking my Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm just going to paint his body white. I'm just going to take some black and give him some eyeballs, and then I'll be painting the top of his hat black as well. And we'll be adding a few different details as we go. Now for the scarf part, you could use a ribbon or fabric for this, but I decided just to paint mine on. I'm going to be using black and red for this, and mine is more of a berry red. You can find it at Walmart. It's really inexpensive. As I'm watching me paint this, I actually like just the stripes. I think he looks really cute this way, so if you wanted to do that, you could just do white and black. And again, you can make your snowman whatever color you would like. I just wanted it to stand out a bit on my sign. So I started off with the black first, just doing vertical stripes, and then I went back in with horizontal so I can make kind of like a Bingham check look. I wanted the snowman to sparkle a little bit more, so I'm taking some Mod Podge and just brushing it on various spots on his hat, and then I'm going to cover that in silver glitter. And I didn't do it very thickly at all. You'll notice when I tap it off that it's a very light coverage. You can do however more or a little as you want. I'm taking that Mod Podge again, spreading that over our block of wood or cardboard, whatever you have on hand, and get that all spread out evenly. That way you can put your fabric on top and then just spread that out, and most of the wrinkles will come out. No biggie if it's there, it'll be covered up anyways. I decided instead of cutting off the trim, I would just glue the edge of the material to the sign, and I did that because I really wanted it to be more tailored looking. Now it's time to glue on our wood signs that we had painted, so I'll make sure you add a good amount of hot glue. You could use E6000 if you want to, but hot glue works really well. And then for the snowman, you're only going to add glue to the edges depending on the size sign you have. So you can make this go all the way over past his body, but I liked the edge of it to be shaped like his body. Then I'm taking that nautical twine that Dollar Tree has and I'm gluing that all the way down on the top and the bottom edges of the sign just to give it a little bit of a trim. This is optional, you don't have to do this. The sign looked good both ways. My son actually liked it without the top piece and I liked it with both. So it just depends on what you want to do. I added those silver snowflakes. They do carry these in blue and I think red at Dollar Tree as well. I know they carry for sure blue, and I just added those in various spots and then one to his scarf. And you can put more snow if you want to on the snowman. You can take from a berry pick at Dollar Tree that has the cotton stem and the pine cone. I just folded that over. You could use just a regular the floral wire tie there. And I'm gluing the pine cone on. I just like the way that looked. And then I'm gluing on the leaves and kind of folding out that leaf a little bit just to give it a little bit of, just to make it look more tailored. I didn't like the way it looked folded up. I wanted it folded down. Then I took the cotton stems and glued those down as well. But I absolutely love the way this sign came together. You're going to want the star wood shape, a dowel, music paper I found at Michael's, Sharpie, Jenga blocks, glue gun, and Mod Podge, and scissors, and a pencil. So I'm going to start by tracing out the star, and you can do this with any of the wood shapes you want. You're just going to cut out that shape, and again, you can use whatever scrap paper you want. I was not going to try to freehand music sheet, but I thought this was so pretty, and this was like 50 cents at Michael's. Then you're just going to take your Mod Podge and spread that all over the entire star. And then you're going to take your paper and press that on. And it's super easy, guys. This is the easiest way you can make a craft. No painting involved for you here. The next step was to take these Jenga blocks. They come in a pretty good sized pack, and I'm just gluing them together to make a little platform for the sign. This is optional. You could use a foam block if you don't want to use the Jenga blocks, but the Jenga blocks are found in the kids aisle, so just keep that in mind. Look in the kids toy area for these. And they're just highlighted with a little bit of gold paint on them. So I stack them alternating the way, like just the way you would play Jenga. And then I take the last two and I separate them a little bit. And then I add the top two just a little bit further apart, just wide enough to fit my wooden dowel in between them. The next step is to decide what you would like your sign to say. You could leave it just like this, but I decided to use my pencil and kind of highlight what I wanted it to write. And I even decided to write the word Noel. And I was trying to make it so you guys could see it better. And then I ended up not turning the star completely in the middle, so it's actually a little bit off center and crooked. So make sure when you're doing this you're looking at it straight on. I was looking at it curved and that just did not work out very well. I added some greenery and a wood snowflake that comes from Dollar Tree with a little bit of the red in there, and you can see how it's a little bit crooked. So don't mind me, I made the mistake so you don't have to. For the next project you're going to want a glue gun, paint, snowflakes, stir sticks, cardboard square, floral stem, and then the wooden sign. I showed you this sign earlier and I made it into pumpkins. We're going to be using this again, and I'm using the sanding block here to remove the glitter on the sign. You can use whatever you like, but I found that that works the best. Make sure all the glitter's gone and then take some white paint and go ahead and paint the entire sign. And this is going to be a two-sided sign for me. One part's fall, one part's Christmas. Works for me. Once you have two coats on, we're going to move on to making the little hat. I'm using these stir sticks here and I'm putting one on each side of my piece of cardboard. You can use a piece of wood if you want. I just didn't have one, so I used this. I'm painting it black. You can paint it whatever color you would like, but this is going to be basically his little top hat. So I want to just cover that really well with some black paint. Now I'm going in with a silver paint and I am just gonna create that snowman shape to the sign, just like we did to the pumpkin sign. That video will be linked down below for you if you want to make the fall pumpkins. But this is a really handy sign to get, and again, I'm not doing too much like I did on the pumpkins, but I'm just highlighting it to give him a little bit of depth to his snowballs, and we can do that, and I do that for each layer. Now you can do whatever color buttons you want, but I wanted mine to look like little coal blocks. So I did a few on the bottom layer, and then I added a few to the middle layer, and then I did a slightly larger coal blocks to his eyeballs, and then I went ahead and made his smile out of coal blocks. You can do whatever you would like. It's your snowman, be creative. If you don't like this, you can use different colors as well. I mixed a bright orange with white to cream it up a little bit and give him his nose shape. Now I'm taking the scarf, just a little strip of it. You can use whatever material you would like. And then I'm just gluing it down and folding it in half. I felt that that was the appropriate size for it. And then the part that overhangs, you'll just turn your sign over and then just glue that to the back, or you can cut it off. I'm not worried about it ruining my sign because I can always add a little touch-up paint if I need to. Now I'm going to cut out 2 more of the stripes from this scarf, and then I'm just going to make a little 3-tiered scarf on the end. That way he stays bundled up and warm. And then also to dress it up, I'm just going to cut a V in the bottom of them, folding it in half and cutting it at an angle. I feel like that just dresses it up a little bit. It's optional, you don't have to do that. The next step was to add a little bit of the scarf to his top hat because I wanted it to have a little bit of color. Dollar Tree has a couple different scarves and the plaid material that you can choose from. I'm just snipping off a little bit of this greenery here to add a little bit to the side of his hat because we don't want it to be too plain. I wanted to dress him up a little bit. And then once I add that, then I add those little stick-on snowflakes they have. They have them in clear, blue, and I think red at Dollar Tree. And you can put them on however you like and glue them down or use a self-adhesive, kind of showing you a couple different ideas. Now I'm taking that greenery again, I'm adding a little bit to the bottom of it because most snowmen are in the forest, so adding a little pine cone to them just to dress them up a little bit, and then I'm going to add a couple of these stick-on snowflakes in various spots. Now Mr. Snowman has to have some hands and arms, so I'm using the pick from the florals that Dollar Tree has, and I'm just cutting the wires down, and I'm just going to glue them and layer them on so they look like little wooden sticks coming out. And I'm going to make 2 of those. If they get too large, you can always trim them down. It's not a big deal. And then you're going to go in with some black paint and give them a little makeover. You want to make sure your snowman's looking at you when you figure out where you want to place them, but I put them in the middle pumpkin area and I think it turned out good. Add a little bit of glue to the back of the hat, and then I'm taking a little bit of white paint to make Mr. Snowman like he was in a snowstorm. He's got to have snow on him, you know. He is made of snow, and I think he turned out so cute. I love the way he turned out, and I love the fact that I made it out of a pumpkin sign. So I hope that you guys can pick that up at your store and be able to make him. I think he's really cute. And the next DIY, was so excited about this one, I'm going to be showing you how to make garland. So you're going to need a glue gun, snowflakes, wire, rope, and the foliage. This is the fern foliage. This is new from Dollar Tree. They didn't carry this last year, and I love this product a lot. It is a little bit messy, but most garlands are for Christmas unless you do real or, you know, all green, no like, you know, flocking on it or anything. Last year I showed you how to make flocked garland, so I'll have that video linked down below if you want to make some out of existing garland that you have. It's really easy. I'm just taking the floral sprig and splitting it in half, and then I'm wiring that on. It's really easy. At first I thought I was going to glue it on, but I didn't find that was necessary. You totally can if you want to. But once you go all the way down the line, I ended up using, I think, 5 sprigs here, and it made a little over 6 feet, I believe. Once you get that done, the next step is to connect the two foliage sprigs together, because it tends to want to move on you, and you don't want that, especially for your garland. You want to be able to bend the stems without it like showing all the rope and everything. So it's completely up to you, but I think this is such an easy DIY, and you can make as much or as little as you want, which I think is wonderful, and it doesn't cost but a couple dollars, which garland can be really expensive depending on where you buy it. The next step was to take the wooden snowflakes and add these on. You can do whatever you would like for this. You can paint them, but I really liked the natural wood color with the foliage. I think it was really pretty. So most garlands that you buy have like a little loop at the very end, so I just thought I would make one of those too. You don't have to. You can completely end it right there at the stem if you want to, but in case you need to hang this or attach it somehow, you totally can. But what you will need are these 5-inch letters. I picked these up at Joann's. You can use whatever size you would like, and then I will be using this buffalo check fabric, the spatula, some scissors, Mod Podge, some chalk, some paint. I'm using a treasure map. These little nails, you can pick these up at Lowe's, or like $1.39 for like a 50 pack. Then I'm using black, a hammer, and then this is a 1x6 cut down. And I basically painted it with the treasure map, and I cut them in different sizes because I wanted them to be jagged. And then you can sand them if you'd like, and then you're just going to want some burlap. You can get that at Walmart for like a couple bucks. Now I just like to trim the burlap a little bit smaller than the wood itself. And then once you get that about as straight as you would like, then you're going to take out and fray the edges. Just take out a couple strings at a time, nothing too much here. It just gives it a nice rough, more vintage look to the blocks. And then if something isn't quite straight, you can just trim it however you like. Your Mod Podge, and then I just like to use a little paintbrush and push it away. You can use sponge brushes, whatever you have on hand, and then go ahead and put that on there, and then just again finish with the Mod Podge. You really want to make sure this is glued down well, and this stuff holds up really well. The blocks I've had for a couple years now, and they work wonderful. Then I like to take my spatula and just press it down, especially the frayed edges. They'll tend to pop up a little bit, and just want to push those down. Now for the original block letters, I just took my Sharpie. You can use a paint pen, and I just traced around and then filled in the inside of my letters. And then this is how I'm going to do it with the fabric now. Same concept basically, except instead of using a Sharpie, I'm using a piece of chalk. If you have lighter fabric, you could use a Sharpie. Just it wouldn't show up on this black fabric. And this fabric is very thin. It's more of, I want to say, like an organza type of fabric. I didn't want anything too thick. So just be aware of that if you're going to be using fabric on it. You want something like just regular thin cotton, nothing super, you don't want like a fleece or anything. I think that would be too thick. And just take the Mod Podge and layer that underneath, and then continue to press that in, and repeat the same process for all the other letters. The final thing you have to do is just take your nails and nail those into the corners. I'm using the black for the buffalo check. So for this DIY, you will want a glue gun, scissors, a printable, it'll be linked down below, paint, a Sharpie or glitter, rope, ribbon, and then the sign. Now, I decided to use white paint for my sign. You can use whatever color you would like. This is the Waverly chalk paint. It has great coverage. And when I first started out, I thought I was going to do a full coat of this, but I decided to just leave it a little bit more on the rough side, so it looked a little bit more on the vintagey side for me. So I just dry brushed it in certain areas. The next step was to take that printable and just take a pencil, and you're going to scribble all the way on the back where the words are, and this is going to create basically a transfer for us of our letters. I decided to leave a gap between the two words, so I'm going to be putting something in the middle, and just make sure that they're level, and then you're just going to trace over your words, and that will basically leave a mark on the sign for us to go back in and paint. It works really well. You can use carbon paper. That's something that I used to use, but a lot of you told me just to do this, and it works really good. You can see the words are highlighted here. Then I went in with a red paint pen. You could use a red Sharpie or regular red paint, but I thought this was really easy just to trace over all of the letters and then go back in with a regular paint and go over it. So it's completely your choice. You can finish it off the way you would like, but I really liked doing it this way. Then between the words I added 2 candy canes. One's at a slight angle and the other one's a little bit straighter. You can do what works for you. I took some brown paint and then just made a little bow for it so it would stand out a little bit more. And then I went back in with white paint and added the candy cane detail. This was a lot easier to add it after the red paint had dried versus just freehanding the candy cane in red. Now you could leave it just like this, but I decided to add a little snowflake to the middle just to highlight it a little bit. So I wanted the sign to stand out a little bit more, so I'm just highlighting all of my red letters with some Mod Podge, and I'm going to go in and add red glitter to the words, just dumping that on there, and then it will just adhere and then it will dry and will be good to go. This is your preference. If you don't like glitter, you can skip this step. I think it's a really cute sign in general, but it's completely up to you. The next step was to add on some ribbon. I just took my glue gun, made a nice glue line, and then attached the ribbon. And I got this ribbon from Hobby Lobby last year, but I'm sure they still have it. I decided to do this versus the traditional red and white. Dollar Tree does carry like a candy cane looking one, but I liked that this one just stood out a little bit more and it was a little bit different looking. Then I went back in with rope and just added that to the bottom, basically just to frame the sign a bit, and I really liked the way that looked. And then I also went up the sides, but I left the jagged edge showing, so I just thought, again, it added some character, but it's completely your choice what you want to do. This is the way the sign has turned out, and I think it's absolutely adorable. For this DIY, you will want a glue gun, paint, Mod Podge, some rope, stick on wood snowflakes, and then you're going to want stick on letters, scissors, scrap paper, and a wood sign, or you could use cardboard. It's completely your choice. The first step is to take some Mod Podge and spread that all over the sign that you will be using. And this is a basically 12 by 12. It fits the same size as a scrap paper. Right now I got this scrap paper at Joann's and they're having a deal where you get 10 for $2. And so they have tons of Christmas ones out, so definitely check them out. If you have one near you, you could paint whatever you wanted as well. The next step was to take the wood truck, and I decided to make mine all black. And this is your preference what you would like to do for this, but I'm going to be mixing paint and glitter. Again, it's your choice. So anytime I'm painting, if I'm trying to highlight a certain look, especially for the tree, I always like to go in like swoops in the direction that leaves would actually go, or branches. I think it adds a little bit of detail to your paintings without it being a lot of effort. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to get a look for something, try to do it in its natural, I guess you could say, shape, if that makes any sense. Here I'm taking some white paint first, and then I'm adding the glitter onto that. You could use Mod Podge as well. It's completely your choice. I just really wanted to make sure that the paint stood out a little bit in the glitter, so that's why I'm highlighting it first with the white and then going in with the glitter. Now I'm adding on some snow just with the white paint, adding it to all the areas that it would normally build up on a vehicle. Now I'm going to be adding the words to my sign. Now you can paint these on, you can use a Sharpie, and you can transfer the words just if you print them out on Word if you like we did before. But these are actually stick-on letters. Dollar Tree has a variety of these right now, so definitely check them out. They even have felt ones. And they have felt numbers, so definitely look at their new area. It's in the woodcraft area. That's where I found mine, and I just thought they were really cute, and it was so much easier. This M came down too far, so I just snipped it off a little bit. I added some glue to the truck and glued that down to my sign. The next step was to take a little candy cane and add that to it. You don't have to. I glued mine down. There is a little bit of adhesive on the back, but it doesn't hold very well with glitter, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to add this, but I just thought it made it look way more Christmassy, and it was really cute. And then I added, the silver didn't stand out enough, so I added a little bit of silver just to the middle, and then went back in with some green paint, and I really liked the way it tied into the tree. The last thing I did was add rope all the way around the border of my sign, and it just completed the entire look. I thought it looked really nice and gave it that, you know, rustic old look. And then at the very back of it, I flipped it over and then just added a hanging piece for it, and this is the way it turned out. For this DIY, you will want a glue gun, scissors, a printable, link down below, a pizza pan, yes, a pizza pan, florals, ribbon, Mod Podge, Sharpie or paint, material or scrap paper, it's your choice. I'm starting with some brown paint. This is the Waverly, it's kind of like a stain paint. I forget what it's called. I'll put the name of it on here for you though. But I'm just highlighting the outer edge, and then I'm going to go back in and do the inner curve edge there. And make sure when you're all done, you do one final swoop so you have no lines on it basically. But the first step you really should do is actually trace the outside of the sign first. That way you get a nice cut on your thing. I'm using this material. It came from Joann's, and this, I just got a foot of it, and it cost me like $1.30. So definitely check that out. Dollar Tree does carry this pattern, but in bigger in the baby aisle sometimes, but I have yet to find it. I think they carry it in like a blanket or a scarf. Some of the other girls use it, but I can't find it for the life of me. So I went ahead and traced that out, and then I put my printable underneath it. You could still see it. It would definitely help if you had a light underneath it, but this is a light material, so I just again went in and traced out the letters. For me, it helps to have this the letters next to it so I know I'm getting the right pattern here. But I'm just highlighting it again with my Sharpie. You could use paint pen if you wanted to, or regular paint, but the Sharpie works great. Now the next step was to take some Mod Podge and spread that all the way around the middle of your pan. I actually took a little bit and just highlighted the edges just to kind of lock in the paint a little bit. It kept wanting to come off, probably because the pizza pan was just such a smooth surface. If you sprayed it, it'd probably be a lot better than painting it on. The next step is to take your scrap paper or your material and go ahead and press that on. I was really careful not to rub too much where the letters were because I didn't want the Sharpie to transfer and get all over the fabric or smudge basically. Then I just trying to figure out the design that I wanted for the top of my sign here. So I layered on 2 pieces of fabric and then glued my stems onto that. And these you can find at Dollar Tree. They're really cute. They're new this year and I love them. And then I took a pine cone and added that to the middle, and then I ended up adding another one with some red foliage, but you could add the snowflake if you wanted to. The next step is optional. You could add some rope to the outer trim of it to make it look a little bit better, or you could add some ribbon. I got this ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I just thought it added a little bit of charm to it. I like both. I like it painted and I liked it with the trim, so it's clearly your choice, but I really think it's cute. This is probably my favorite sign out of all of them. You guys will have to let me know. For the next DIY, you want a glue gun, Mod Podge, scrap paper, a Sharpie, paint, stick-on, stickers, ribbon, scissors, a printable, and then a stove cover. I know, random things, but we are making use of them. So the first thing you're going to do is to trace out your scrap paper with your stove top. Then we're going to highlight the back of this printout. Those will be linked down below for you. And then we're going to take that and we're basically going to use that and transfer that onto the scrap paper. The scrap paper came from Joann's. Again, like I said, they have 10 for $2 right now, or they're basically just 20 cents a paper, which is a really good deal. You can use whatever color paper you would like. The next step is just to trace your letters on, and then you're going to use that traced out line and then highlight them with a Sharpie, and then you can go over it with paint, but I suggest using the Sharpie. It works really well, and I just basically widen the letters, making them a little thicker so they would stand out a little bit more. The next step is to take the Mod Podge and add that to the inner part of your stove cover, and then you're going to press on your scrap paper. Be careful again with the words, you don't want that to bleed out, so I highlighted the outside of it and just slightly went over it with the Mod Podge. That way it would be sealed and nicely glued down. Then I took one of the little stick-on wood stickers and I got the candy cane one and I just made it all red, and then I went in with some red glitter and added that just to the middle bow area. Now I'm taking some red ribbon, and then the striped ribbon is from Dollar Tree, and I'm just looping that over, and we're going to make a bow here. I'm just using some wire twine to cinch that in the middle, and then I'm taking some of that striped ribbon to cover the twine in the middle. You don't have to use twine, you can just use ribbon and just tie a knot in it. The next step is to use some more ribbon. I use this one from the Dollar Tree. And I don't know if they'll still have this. I got this during fall and summer, so if they don't, you could add rope or just nothing at all, but I'm basically just adding a bead of glue and then pressing on that ribbon, and I thought it added a nice little highlight to the inner part of the sign versus it just being plain white. I then glued on my bow at the very top and thought it needed a little bit more, so I took the white snowflake. This is an ornament the Dollar Tree has in a 2-pack, and I added that to the middle, and then I added my little candy cane to the top, and I love the way it came out. I think it's really adorable. DIY, I'm using the larger grapevine wreath that you can find at Dollar Tree, along with some green frosted ferns that you can find there, and I'm just gluing them down sporadically and only going about halfway up the wreath. You can go all the way around if you want to, it's completely up to you, but I'm using some longer ones and some shorter ones, and then we'll be adding them in as we go. Now I'm going to take these mini ornaments that you can find at Dollar Tree as well. Some of these are glittered, some are matte, and some are shiny. And I'm just alternating between the red and the silver. You can use whatever color that you would like for this. It's completely up to you, but I like the combination of the green, the red, and the silver together. I like to work as I go, so what I'm doing now is just taking some of the red ferns that Dollar Tree carries, and I'm just kind of pulling them apart. You can cut them, whatever you want to do, and I'm just going to kind of tuck those in with a couple more of the small green pieces in between my ornaments just to add a little bit more filler in between those areas. You can do whatever you want for this, but I think it looks really pretty and it almost looks a little bit more natural. I know it sounds funny considering they're ornaments, but I like the way it kind of flows together. And I am sorry about my voice. I am getting over a cold and it just happens to sound like a frog, so I'm sorry. Hopefully that doesn't bother you. Now I'm taking one of the ornament trees that Dollar Tree carries in a 2-pack, and I'm going to glue that upward. I know we had it horizontal earlier, but I didn't like that, so I'm going to glue it upward, and I'm just going to add in a couple more ornaments and greenery and a little bit of red to fill in that space on the bottom. I thought it'd be pretty to add some red and silver ribbon to the top of the wreath to hang it. This ribbon came from Dollar Tree. It is very flaky and glittery, so just be forewarned on that, but it definitely shines and looks really pretty with the ornaments as well. Now I'm just gluing on a little bit of a smaller ribbon to the top of this, and then just gluing that down over the top, and then you can hang it that way. And then I'm just taking a little red ornament ball and gluing that to the top of the tree just so it shines a little bit, but this is the way it turned out and I think it's really pretty. Next DIY, I am using these bell ornaments that come in a 4-pack from Dollar Tree. Such a good deal, and they actually have ones that are glittered and non-glittered. Get the ones that are not glittered to save yourself a little bit of time and effort of cleaning off the glitter. I'm removing the bows. You want to save those. I'm going to be using them for another project in today's video, but I just set those outside, and then I took this Rust-Oleum Imagine gold paint, and I actually thought it was going to be a little bit too bright, but this gold is so nice looking. It has a very vintage look to it, but it's really pretty and crisp. And then once those kind of dried a little bit, then I turned them on their sides. That way I could do the inside of the bells because we want those to look old. Now I'm going to take some regular brown paint and I'm just going to dry brush this on to the bells. It might be hard to see in the video, but it definitely makes them aged a little bit without taking away too much of the gold color. I really love the way this gold color looks, and I really wanted to preserve that. And I did try filing off some of the pattern, but it wouldn't come off, so you can do that or not. I'm taking this twine that you can find at Dollar Tree as well, and I'm looping this through all of my bells. Then I'm taking some hot glue and adding a little bit of glue to the top of the bell and securing that twine. That way the bells don't move as I hang them. And just to get a nice even length, I just kind of staggered them here and glued them down. I really like the way this project turned out. I think they're very classic looking, and I didn't have to spend a lot of money to make these. So I hope you all enjoyed today's Christmas DIYs using Dollar Tree products. Let me know which one is your favorite. If you happen to be new here and haven't seen the Christmas home tour, I'll leave that video link down below, or you can click here on the cards. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.